If you've ever traded, you know that feeling deep in your gut. You're aiming for that big win, but in the back of your head, there's always that little voice asking, what if this whole thing turns against me? It's the ultimate balancing act, right? Trying to capture the upside without risking a total wipeout. So that really brings us to the core question we're going to tackle in this explainer. Is there a way to get in on those huge market moves, but with a built-in safety net? A way to know your absolute worst-case scenario before you even hit the buy button? Okay, so let's get into it. Before we can even talk about a solution, we really need to understand the problem. And that means getting a handle on the kind of risk that's just baked into the most common ways people trade every single day. And here it is, the classic trader's dilemma. If you're feeling bullish and you buy a stock, your potential reward is unlimited. Awesome, right? But your risk is pretty high. That stock can go all the way down to zero. Now, if you're bearish and you short a stock, your risk is, well, even scarier. It's literally unlimited. A stock can just keep going up and up and up forever, and so can your losses. But what if we could fundamentally change that risk equation? This is where a totally different kind of tool comes into play. Let's look at a new way to get in the game. Not by owning something outright, but by controlling the rights to it. So, what in the world is an option? At its heart, it's just a contract. But the magic words, the ones you really need to hear, are right, but not the obligation. See, when you buy a stock, you're obligated. You own that thing, for better or for worse. With an option, you're just buying a choice. And that is the absolute key difference here. You're not buying the asset itself, you're just buying the right to it. And what that means is that the absolute most you can ever lose is what you paid for that right. Your maximum loss is defined the second you enter the trade. So let's put these two side by side if you're feeling bullish. You could buy the stock, or you could buy a call option. Notice the max reward. It's the same for both, unlimited. But now look at the risk column. With the stock, it's high. With the call option, your risk is absolutely 100% capped at the premium you paid. That is a game changer. The difference is even more dramatic when you're looking at a bearish trade. Remember that terrifying unlimited risk from shorting a stock? Well, if you buy a put option instead, you get that same high reward potential if the stock tanks, but you completely get rid of that nightmare scenario of unlimited risk. Once again, your loss is capped. You've essentially traded that fear of the unknown for a manageable, known cost. All right, so words and tables are great, but you know what they say? Sometimes a picture just makes everything click. So now we're going to use something called a risk graph or a risk profile to really see the difference here. A risk profile is really just a simple chart. The line across the bottom is the stock price, and the line going up the side is your profit or loss. Honestly, it's an incredibly powerful way to understand a trade's potential outcomes in a single glance. Now, for a stock that you own, the picture is pretty straightforward. As the price goes up, your profit goes up. That's your unlimited potential. But as the price falls, your losses just follow it right down that steep slope, potentially all the way to zero. Now look at this. This is the profile for an option you bought. The profit side still shoots for the moon, just like the stock. But the loss side? It's completely different. It hits a floor. It just goes flat. Your loss literally cannot go any lower than the premium you paid. This right here, this is that visual aha moment of capped risk. Okay, so we've defined it, we've visualized it. Let's bring this all home and talk about the real power that this kind of tool gives a trader. Let's make this concrete with some real numbers. Let's say you have $5,000. You could buy 100 shares of a stock. If it doubles, you make $5,000. Great. If it gets cut in half, you lose $2,500. Or for just $500, you could buy a call option that controls those same 100 shares. If the stock doubles, you still make almost $5,000. But if it gets cut in half, you only lose the $500 you paid. You put way less capital at risk for a very similar upside. And hey, don't just take my word for it. As the source for this whole explainer, Trading Options for Dummies, puts it so clearly, your losses are capped and are therefore limited. It's the fundamental principle of using options as a risk management tool. So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? What's the one thing you should absolutely walk away with and remember? So why does any of this matter to you? Because buying an option lets you define your maximum loss before you ever get into the trade. This is a complete psychological shift. You're no longer just hoping and praying the market goes your way. Instead, you're strategically managing a known, fixed risk. You start to see options as a tool for risk management first, and that exciting profit potential, well, that's just the bonus. So, I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on. The next time you're looking at a potential trade, what's going to be the first number you look at? Is it going to be how much you could possibly make? Or will it be the absolute maximum you stand to lose? Because your answer, well, it might just change the way you trade forever.